am so excited to have my first guest here. I have Shivani here. Shivani is a birth and death doula, an energy worker, and a sacred space holder. They love plants, the soil, cozy days, their partner, this precious life, and beautiful life, and so much more. Shivani, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
So before we dive in, I know these last 2 years have not been the same for anyone. So I really want to know, how are you? Like, how are you truly today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm grateful, and I'm swimming in all the feelings of longing and wishing for all my dreams to come true. But it takes time, and so I just I'm dancing with trying to be more patient with myself today.
I hear that. Patience is definitely something that we can all practice more and lean into more and be more gentle with ourselves. So I love that. So I want to talk about a little bit more about how we met and how this is like our first time really talking, which I think is hilarious. We've like chatted in the DMs a little bit and through email. So we met each other through an online community and where I was a community manager. And one thing that struck me about you, Shivani, is your voice. It's so soft, but it's powerful. And I was thinking to myself, like, I have to find a way to keep in touch with this person. Like, this person just like emits just this calm energy. And it was so nice to find. So I've been told that I have such a calming energy and a calm voice. And it was just nice to find someone that has that same energy. And I'm like, wow, there's someone else out there that's kind of like me in a sense. And I think like that's what drew me to you. So I love your energy. So again, thank you for being here. So about you being a death worker and a birth worker, I want to know like what led you there, because I feel like a lot of folks know about the idea of a birth worker, but a death worker, that's kind of like that's such a taboo, and death is such a touchy subject. So what led you there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I think my whole life has been leading me there, in certain ways, but I I didn't really want to see it for some time, and then I didn't know how to see it for some time, and then I saw it. I didn't know what to do with it, and so it's like it's kind of like a word that I love, death work, because it feels I love the way it rubs people weird. I love that I love it because it really like brings forth the mystery that is always present, and that sometimes we can kind of get desensitized to or numb to or avoid. And I struggled with my mental health for a long time, and I think that's what led me to death work, is because I had this experience in my life where it just was like taught me that life is very fleeting, and it's gonna go by very fast, and that if I really want to be here, then who do I want to be while I'm here, and how do I want to live my life? And I can know that deeply if I can look at how I want to die deeply. And so it's like this feeling of we imagine, oh, a couple of days before I die, I'm going to tell this person how I feel, and this person, so I leave with no regrets. But oftentimes we die the way we live. And so in those last few days, not much is going to change. Those habits, those things that we've built, that's what's happening. And I didn't want these patterns that I have, I didn't want to go with them. I wanted to leave these patterns that weren't good for me behind. And the way I know how to do that is to look at my mortality. And there's some people out there who also want to do that. And I just kind of help them find their way to that within themselves, because everything that they need to do their own work is in them. I have nothing. I just come as a person who can hold. And I think it's really important to remember that, because I feel like a lot of teachers and this and that, this becomes about them knowing something, and we come to them because we want to have what they know. But I don't like that. I don't like that. I think it is very disempowering and very confusing. And I think when we can sit with our own life and death, that itself is the greatest teacher. And we have what we need. And it's not like I've been doing this for a long time either. It's new. It's the pandemic really allowed me to dive into it because of the ways I had time, just to be with myself. And actually, the pandemic started when my recovery started, so it just aligned very powerfully and transformatively. And so I had no other choice but to sit the fuck down. So and listen to my heart. So
That's amazing. So walk me through a death doula process. What does that look like?
hmm that's a very good question, because it looks different for everybody. And my first experience of it was with my family, and it's interesting because I was kind of leaving and completing this death doula program, and it becomes clear that my grandpa is like getting ready to go. And so for me, I was trying to balance being a grandchild and a child and a sibling and a cousin and all those things, while also trying to figure out what to do with all these things I just learned. Um, and so for me, it was less about being a death doula and more just about being me in that moment. And but I think because of the death doula training, I had this strength inside of me to remember that, like, the things I know are enough, and that I can talk to my mom and hold space for her. And it's not about um, me knowing something because I did this program. It's just about me being her child. And like, that's kind of for me how I approach it, is like, if I have right now I've only worked with people who are friends and family.
Mm.
So that's also kind of interesting, because spirit is kind of, that's where spirit led me to, and makes me wonder what it would be like for it to be someone I don't know. You know, not like that, but at the same time, spirit chose us to be together. So, on some level, I do know this person. But yeah, I don't know if that was clear. We do legacy work. We reflect on what was your legacy in this life? What was the things that you were proud of? Who did you love? What did you do in your days that felt best? Was it showering?
Mm.
Was it, what kind of self care did you love? How did you take care of the people around you? I love that kind of work, just reflecting with the person. And, you know, for some people, it becomes like they write a book, or they like do a dance or things like that. But for a lot of us, it's not like big like that. It's
Mm.
just having the opportunity and space to reflect before we go somewhere else.
So, have you ever been with someone on their deathbed holding their hand as they transition?
No, I think there's a lot I have to learn before going to that place.
Yeah.
And I think right now maybe I don't think I would be ready. Maybe I'm still sorting through a lot of my own things. And I don't want to bring my own things to somebody. And that'll take time, you know. And when it's the right time, it's the right time. And I think that's, in the beginning I was mentioning, there's those longings I have to be that person, to be sitting and to be in vigil and to be next to somebody. But it doesn't mean that I'm not doing enough just because I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's still versions of death work, and when that time comes, it comes, and if it doesn't come, it doesn't come. And I think that's also the idea of a death worker, is like kind of that image. But a lot of the work I do with people is actually in life, like they lose a relationship, or they're moving, or they don't want to do their job anymore, or they're going through a depression. And that becomes the death work we do, because there's versions of them that are dying. And so that's where spirit's been taking me recently.
And I love that you explain that, because when I think death worker, I have this image in my head where it's like you're holding the person's hand, they're transitioning, and the family is like surrounding the bed, just crying, and you're just there holding it together. So that's the image that I had in my head, but I think it's pretty awesome that you are looking at death work as, you know, the end of something, the end of a period. And, you know, there is grief and endings, even if you're still on this earth. For example, for me, the end of, you know, a childhood friendship and the grief that I'm still experiencing from that. So I think that's amazing that you hope folks transition into, I feel like, another version of themselves. So I love that. As far as legacy work, I saw you talk about on Instagram, which kind of like made a light bulb go off in my head. You know, like, what's the legacy that I want to leave? Like, what does that look like? I know you had asked, you know, what song would you play at your funeral? What kind of flowers would you have? Stuff like that. And I'm like, it's kind of cool to think of it. To me, I'm like, it's kind of morbid, but cool. But it also makes me feel a little bit more comfortable with the idea of no longer being here. So, like, I guess it's kind of like a two-part question. What does legacy work look like? And how can people create that, like, without feeling afraid to think about things like that?
hmm I think I'll start with the second question, because it feels when we feel that, so let's say I'm saying these things about legacy work and death work, blah blah blah, and then these feelings come inside, and then I think that's the place we have to stop, because in those feelings are telling us like, well, we need to be safe in order to move through this. And so that's the most important thing, I think, is to be able to have a safe and comfortable and healthy environment, mentally, internally, externally, where you can do this work, because so much comes. Like sometimes it'll feel like a volcano, or sometimes it'll feel like a hurricane, or sometimes it'll feel like gentle rain, but things move, energetically when we're doing this. And so that would be the most important thing for me, is like to really allow yourself to take the time, that could be years, to build that safety and comfort and healthiness in your life, so that when you dive into these places, you know that when you come out of it, you have a comfortable, safe place to land. Because we don't want to dive and then come back and feel like we're like not feel safe. And I think that's sometimes I feel we take it for granted, because we don't want to assume another person feels safe, or you know, we need to be able to create that for ourselves and ask what it looks like to create that for each other. And once we have that, then it looks however we need it to look.
Mhm.
Because legacies are people have us in their heart, and then we continue to live because they have us in their heart. But they may not have us in their heart with our name. They may have us with in their heart with something we said, or something we reminded them of, or they may be watering their plants more because we told them about this plant that needs more water, or something. Like the things they do in their life are reflective of our life. And so legacy is sometimes, I think, is that simple. Cooking something that they loved, watching a movie that you used to watch together, listening to a song that made them laugh. You know, those small things that really give us so much meaning. I think and so that's kind of where I like to start with folks with legacy work is the senses.
Mm.
Sight, touch, smell, hearing. What's the other one? Sight, touch, smell, hearing, taste. Yeah. And then all the other unseen ones. But like yeah, starting with that allows it to become more embodied.
Mm.
And less up here and more in here. Where did you like to go to walk? Where did you like to see the stars?
And I'm getting emotional because I feel like that's also it sounds like a way to work through grief. That's how I work through grief. What did my family member love to eat? What did they love to watch? What stories did they read me? I feel like they're still here. I'm a big believer in energy never dies, it just transfers. So remembering those things and their legacy kind of helps me move through grief. And I've noticed as I work through that, grief pops up from, I lost a family member about 10, 15 years ago, and I'm still finding old birthday cards and their handwriting, and then the waterworks just flow. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know I was still holding on to this. Let me listen to their favorite song. Let me honor them. Let me look at a photo of them. And then it just feels like a warm hug.
Mm-hmm.
So I think leaning into, their legacy and keeping those memories alive, I think that's been so supportive as far as like me working through my own grief of family members that I've lost years ago. And that also makes me think, like how do I want to be remembered? What kind of legacy do I want to create? What would people say about me? What are your thoughts on that? Like creating your own personal legacy?
Yeah, I love it. And I love it not because of thinking about what other people would think, but if we start from there, right? Oh, what would other people think when I leave? But what it does is it helps us fall back in love with what we love and who we are because we're really thinking and feeling deeply into who we are and who we want to be and how we want other people to remember us. And we can't control that, right? We don't know. They could think whatever they want to think. And that's not the point for us to control what they're thinking. But the point is that inspires us to wonder about who we are and who we really are. And in this life, because a lot of times I notice like we have these things we love, do these things we love, experience these beautiful moments, and then they live in us and we sometimes forget them.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I think part of it is the legacy work is to remember how beautiful or hard or complicated our lives have been. And it allows us to grapple with that because we're holding space to think about it. And I think the beautiful part about it is that because we're doing it in life, there is the possibility of having another day and to keep creating it. It's not just the legacy of so far. It's let me have the audacity to think maybe I have some more time on this earth. And what would I like? What would I like to leave behind? And I think some people have these really beautiful ideas when they get kind of creative and they leave letters for loved ones for this person to open on their 50th birthday because I'm not gonna be 125. I know I'm not gonna live that long, but that person might live to 50 And so what if I left a birthday letter?
Mhm.
Imagining what that is like, or voice recordings for someone to have. And let's say I am still around. That voice letter or note or audio recording isn't for naught. It's still a memory to have. It's still something to go back to. So I think those like moments where we write to somebody or record something, or there's so many options now with technology. You can make videos for someone and it can only be accessed on this, all those things. But that's all part of it, I think. Gardens. I think gardens are a big part of it.
Yeah, I notice online that's something that you touch on a lot is gardens, herbs, and flowers. So how do you connect that to the work that you do?
It stays, the earth stays. The earth is seen and knows so much more than we can know, and holds our literal bodies once we go.
Mm.
And our memories, our spirits, our lives, it's all there, getting composted, getting transformed into a maple tree or an oak tree or a leaf or a petal. And it just really helps. It just helps me remember that, like, even though I am not going to be living forever, like, I can leave behind a plant and someone can continue to water it. And that makes me feel really happy.
I'm definitely with you on, the earth and nature knowing way more than we do. And I had also seen online, and I wanted to know your thoughts on this. So they have, so instead of being, cremated or like buried in a coffin, you can be like composted or like put in these pods or like created into a tree. I just wanted to know what you thought about that.
Yeah. I love all those options. I love them, and I think they sometimes can feel not accessible to people because of money and stuff. So I love those things, and I hope that they are accessible to folks who long for it, no matter who they are or where they come from or what they have. Because I've seen like really fancy things, and it seems amazing, but who has access to it is always what I ask. Um, and the one I really like is like when folks get I mean, there's so much I don't know, but from the little that I've seen, there's one that's about like a cardboard box instead of like those, thick, thick, and so it's like just a card, which allows the decomposition to happen more easily. The earth doesn't have to work as hard to go through that big box in the earth. And so there's like a cardboard box, and that's going to be where you put the body, and people put their prayers and on love written on the box.
Mm.
And I love that. I love it because you're just sending them with so much love, with all of everybody's, even if it's somebody writing their name or a flower, like their energy is helping guide this person into this other place that we don't know. And I really I like it because I like anything that helps me feel less alone. So yeah.
So I know that you were online asking people what they want their experience to be life after death, so the funeral and all that good stuff. So tell me what it is that you want when it's your time to cross over.
Oh, I want so many flowers. I want people to have so many flowers. And I want people to have options for chocolate. Like I love white chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, chocolate with almonds, chocolate with sesame seed, all the different like sweetness. I think is really important for me. I want people to have options for like, do they want to sit and cry in a blanket? Do they want to watch a movie and not think about it? Do they want to like whatever? Like I just imagine it being in my home, wherever my home is at that time. And I just imagine like a lot of food and oh my god, chai and coffee and lemon balm tea and some tulsi chai and some just salty things and like so much food for some reason comes to me.
Mm-hmm.
But music, I like people to play. I keep needing to make a playlist. I want to make a playlist, but a playlist that somebody could play drums. I would love somebody to beat the drums and just help me kind of go. Because I really, I imagine I'd have a hard time because I really love being here. um, so things that would help them, but also help me go. And with love and prayer and comfort, coziness, blankets. For some reason, I imagine it to be a cold day.
Mm-hmm.
If it's hot, I don't know what people will do. So that's on them.
Yes, it's on them, not your problem anymore.
No.
I love this idea of like, comforting although you've already crossed over, and that, you're thinking of other people while you're not here. And I think that's a beautiful legacy to leave. I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I had commented on your Instagram post and said, I want my funeral song to be Kid Cudi humming for 10 hours. I'm like, that is so comforting to me. I want lots of flowers. I want a harp. I want a violinist and herbs, salves, bombs. I just want people to feel comfortable. And I would also have a scientist speak at my funeral to let them know, my family know, that she's still here. Like scientifically, Marquita is still here. And I know it's so technical, but I think if I, had a scientist speaking at the funeral of loved ones as, a teenager, even in my early 20s, I think that would have helped me feel so much more at ease and so much more comfortable, like I'm missing their physical body and their personality, but their energy will never die. And now that I know that, I feel my loved ones around me all the time. I just need to call on them, maybe build an altar or eat their favorite food or, put their picture up on my altar, call their name out. Something I do before bed is if I want to speak to an ancestor, I welcome them into my dreams and say, hello, I'm going to sleep. Please come. You're welcome. And sometimes they pop up in my dreams when I don't call on them, and I feel like it's their way of saying, I'm okay. I'm still here. So although I feel like death is still somewhat of a taboo for me, just knowing that they're still here is comforting for me. So, yeah.
Can I say one thing when you said that? It reminded me that I would really also love to have those people who, the ancestors I call on, like when I die, like whatever ceremony or whatever, they're at the house. Like I want their photos too. Like the people I'm joining.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy you said that because I hadn't thought about that before. Or even like their names, or even if I don't know their names, something.
That would be beautiful. That you're joining the crew. Like that's what it seems like. You're joining the crew, like a period of like, everlasting life. You're always here. And I've also seen like some people get their loved ones' ashes put into necklaces or jewelry and stuff like that, which I think it's at first I thought, I'm like, well, that's kind of weird, but I think that's kind of cool and comforting. So you feel like you're carrying that person everywhere that you go. But yes, my heart is so full, which is why I keep holding my chest. So yeah. So what resources would you offer to someone who wants to know more about death work and grief, and like, do you have any like books or anything like that?
Oh, oh yeah, so many things. Uh, I think one thing I would say is to find somebody else to dance in it with you. So like oftentimes things like this can feel lonely. And so maybe to share with a friend or a family member, like, oh, I'm reading this, like, or oh, I've been thinking about this, whatever that feels safe. Because I know that's not always doable. Um, but that would be one big thing of like having people to walk with you or dance with you or roll with you. And I think the biggest place would be nature because everything's dying.
Mm-hmm.
So to go there and to ask and to listen and to see the ways that the dead leaves are mingled with the new leaves, and I'll listen, just to listen, to go to nature and listen. And not that we aren't nature, but anyways. So the that would be big, the trees, the flowers. And then books, there's so many books. Maybe like there's this book called Ritual, by Thomas Some, and then there's so many books that for some reason it's not coming to my head right now. But maybe I can send you a list or something.
Yeah, and I can add those to the show notes. So for people that want to work with you, where can they find you, and maybe talk a little bit about what you offer? I know you offer medicine circles, so maybe a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more about that.
Yeah. So if you'd like to work with me, you can find me on my Calendly, just calendly.com/Shivani Narang, or you can email me at deathworkwithshiv@gmail.com. And right now I am not doing the medicine circles because it kind of got burnt out by them a little bit. And so just the weekly, I loved it, I love them, but the weekly just needing to show up was kind of getting hard for me. And so hopefully I start that or version of that again in 2023. But right now I'm really just focusing on my one-on-one clients with folks and working through the things that they need to work through. And I also hold ceremony for people who feel it's sometimes talking and the ways we have sessions doesn't work. There's this whole thing of a session or something it's not working, so we need ceremony. And so I kind of help hold ceremony space for people, and mostly just focusing on the one-on-one work for folks who are grieving or moving through an end of any kind or a birth of any kind. I have my first birth doula client, and it's for my nibbling. So excited for my nibbling to come into the world. And I feel definitely more comfortable with death than with birth for some reason. So, but I'm trained in both, and I would love to be able to. That's part of the dream too, is to really be solid in both because they're the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and just to also put it out there is like I'm always learning, and I'm not I don't ever want to pretend to know anything that I don't know. And so like to work with me is really co-working almost. Yeah.
I love it because I think that also encourages people not to give their power away and to do their own research. I do love like the collaborative energy that you do have to kind of, let folks hold that, let folks lean in and, see what they want to do, what you've presented to them. So I think that's really important. So amazing, Shivani. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I will link
Thank
everything in the show
you.
notes. And what is you didn't mention your Instagram.
Oh yeah, Death Work with Shiv. Just that.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much
Yes.
for being here. I really appreciate
Thank
you
you.
just for your time and
Thank
just
you.
showing up. So I look forward to chatting again soon.
Me too. Thank you.